Long years have passed since I walked these shores.
March 26th, the second anniversary of the passing of the late great Tom Lally, and where better place to be but back in Lally's again. You might remember this time last year we were chatting to Mike Quinn about the anniversary of Tom's passing and the sadness that had enveloped Garrafrauns. Well, out of the sadness and the gloom comes a little bit of hope. Here we are back in a pub that we hope will be opening very, very soon, and the new proprietor, Mark Quinn, joins us here as well. Mark, first of all, I haven't seen you since you managed to purchase this premises. That was a process that was drawn out over a number of weeks, but now that you've got there, how happy are you that this premises will be up and running at some point in 2022?
Absolutely delighted, and we wanted that. Why I bought it really is just to keep Tom's memory alive, so we'll keep the pub pretty much as it is now. We'll do a bit of decorating and different things like that, but we'll keep everything as it is and keep everything,
It wasn't easy because COVID and everything kind of put a halt to most things going on, even a simple matter of getting home to Ireland to be able to view the place and see what would be needed to be done. That was denied you for quite a while. So at what point did you really make a determined decision that you're going to buy it and you're going to open it for the community again?
Immediately I realised it was for sale. I wanted to keep it the way it's been with Tom, and I felt I should buy it. And I had a chat with a couple of people, and I said almost immediately.
Yeah, you got a sense that there was a great support and willingness in Garrafrauns to support you if that was to happen.
Yeah, I did, and I was really chuffed about that. I did a lot of canvassing around, and I made almost an instant decision. As soon as I realised it was for sale, I got in there before anybody else got in.
Yeah, of course. Let's talk a bit about yourself, Mark. I mean, you're a familiar face to those of us who are in Garrafrauns, but you're not here that often. You're over and back to the UK. Tell us about where you're based and what your work is.
So we're based in Halifax in West Yorkshire, and we have a production company, Cherwell Productions, who makes films, short films and feature films. So I'd be able to operate most of that from here as well.
Okay.
And all done on a laptop really, other than when we're actually shooting something. So I'm absolutely sure that I can make the two things work together.
Yeah,
so really
like, is it practical to expect you to be here every weekend, or?
No, I'll be here. I'm going to move back here full time, and I might have to pop off every now and again, but I can do the vast majority of my stuff from here.
Like so many of us, we probably remember when we got the news that Tom had passed. Yeah. Were you in the UK at the time?
I was in the UK, and it was a Thursday evening. I remembered someone rang me. I can't remember who rang me now. But quite bizarrely, then the following morning, I got a letter from Tom, after knowing that he just passed away, saying that he was, very lonesome and he was very frightened with COVID and everything. And as I say, it was quite a sad thing to receive, literally knowing that he passed away the night before.
Heartbreaking, I would suggest.
And he would write to me probably once a year. I'd speak to him on the phone, but I got the letter, the next morning. So.
And any of us who ever got a letter from Tom, it's from Tom, don't you? It's got that unique scroll.
Yeah. Well, I used to write to my father quite a lot. So when I get to my father's house, then he'd say to me, "Can you translate this for me now?" Because he could only read about 25% of it.
Did you hold on to the letter?
We have the letter, yeah. Oh, we do, yeah.
So let's talk about the pub then and the timeline. I know that there's a lot of legalities go into procuring a premises and transferring ownership and licenses and whatnot. You are telling me that you're hopeful that May would be in and around the timeline.
The end of May now, the solicitor thinks is a realistic time frame. Yeah. So we've everything done. We're just waiting on the legals now and the final bit of probate. The probate has been in a good few weeks. Just waiting for that to come around. But everything else is prepared, so we won't be holding anyone up once we get the final bit from the probate people.
In terms of the internals of the pub and the decor, and we're so familiar and used to seeing these great pictures and photographs on the wall. Are you keeping all that intact?
Going to keep all that. We'll add a few more. Yeah, anybody who wants to bring something along, we can add it to that. We'll keep all the pictures, and we'll keep the ethos of the pub as it is. We'll just decorate it, put down a bit of heat, and one thing and another, but we'll keep the whole thing as it is.
Yeah, some would smile and say that's a big sea change in itself, having a fire on here, albeit in a chilly March. In terms of behind the bar then, I mean, we'd be so well used to Mike Quinn being there over the years as well. I'm sure Mike will be.
Mike's very kindly agreed to stay on with me, so that's fantastic. So just myself and Mike, and then obviously we'll bring in people as and when we need them. But the character of all that will stay the same. Yeah, everything will be just as it was.
You talk about characters, of course. A lot of the regular characters that we know and love will be here. We've lost a few, though, unfortunately, over the years as well, as have so many communities as well. So I suppose we talked at the outset of this interview about a bit of hope coming back to the country as well, as businesses like Lally's will reopen as well. Do you get a sense that maybe, that will be a big lift for Garrafrauns as well when you do open?
Well, from the reception I've had, I've been here the last 10 days, it's been very, very positive feedback, no negative feedback at all. People saying they're going to come into me and resurrect. He won't be here, but we'll try our best to keep his memory going anyway.
I think an iconic image of Tom, of which there are many. One will be, I'm sure, finding itself on the walls somewhere in
Of
Lally's
course,
bar.
yeah, that's another plan. Yeah, taking a nice photograph of him in a prominent position as you walk into the pub. The name, we'll get a sign made. We call Lally's outside. And nothing will change like that. No changes along those lines.
It's all very exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's terrific, and it's a new venture for me. I'm going to need a lot of help. As I say, Mike has agreed to help me, which is fantastic. But yeah, well, I'm sure there'll be a bit of trial and error at the beginning. But no, looking forward to it. No sort of trepidation at all. Really looking forward to it, yeah.
And no negative side, I suspect, either, as we're here in Lally's bar. Let's take a trip behind the bar and talk to Mike Quinn about his new boss, the new gaffer here at Lally's bar. Well, we've heard from Mark Quinn. Now let's go to Mike. And I suppose it's great news. This time last year, there was a deal of uncertainty when we spoke with you, Mike, about what might happen. And here we are now with some degree of definition about an opening time. You must be excited as much as anybody.
Overexcited. I was 20 years behind this bar, and it's privileged to be back again, and privileged to be with the man and with Mark Quinn. We're the chip of the same block, the two of us anyway, related. And it's nice, the two of us to be here together, and it's nice to see it open. The one thing, we'll miss TL. There'll be no giving out, I hope. But no, we'll miss. It's a memory to be back. It's nice to be back, I was coming in here for 20 years, It's hard to walk away from something after 20 years, you'll miss it, So it's sad, really, but it won't be the same without TL, but we'll have to get along.
Life moves on.
Life moves on, yeah.
That's the definite thing.
We might find another TL somewhere along the line.
I'm sure there'll be a few experts coming in giving their opinion to you anyway on
they will indeed.
The quality of the pint or whatnot.
They will. They won't belong telling you about the pint.
How have you managed in the last 2 years, Mike?
I miss it. You miss the old banter and the crack. I miss Tom a lot. Like a good time for Tom. But we travelled together a lot, the two of us, and we didn't always agree, but I wouldn't mind that. But nobody will wonder at that. But we get on like a house on fire. It's no good there was split with them.
Straight away, you think back to the big nights that we've had here, and you're kind of hopeful that, in the next couple of years we'll have something similar.
Well, that's our plan, myself and Mark's plan. Yeah, that's what we're aiming for. Go back to reality again like it used to be. Get back all yourselves and all them other things we used to have here, and get them all back up and running again, and hopefully it'll all go well for Mark.
Yeah, Mark is big into his sport as well.
He is, yeah. And Mark is a nice fellow. He's a gentleman, as far as I'm concerned, and Mark will do well.
Mark spoke about the fact that as he canvassed the locals about him potentially taking over the pub, he got nothing but positivity and good support, and I'm sure you felt that as well when you spoke with a lot of the locals.
I have a headache listening to it when his lad is open, for the last 2 years. And I said, to be relieved to me when it will open. People asking.
People can stop asking then, yeah.
Yes, it's grand to hear them asking, to show they're interested. And a nice crowd of people used to come in here now. Nice people. No, as I say, no messers. We didn't allow messers anyhow. But TL now, then when I started, it was door. The more than myself. But it'll get up and running again, and we'll get going again. And we'll be back to square one, hopefully.
With the help of God.
With the help of God, yeah.
Mike Quinn there, of course, who's going to be behind the bar for Mark as soon as Lally's opening. The countdown is on. The stopwatch tells us it's about 2 months, and we'll be here in Lally's for the opening. And I, for one, can't wait.
Long years have passed since I walked these shores, hauling our creels along the sand. You showed me how to row the deep sea oars and guide us safely onto land. The harbour rang to the boatmen swans cried, the geese flew down from off the breeze. My heart was full of such peace and joy. I was just a boy on INISHKEA. There's a silence on the islands now, broken only by the seagull's call. There's a silence on the islands now, calling to me, calling to us all. You taught me how to read the turning tide and watch the ever-changing sea. The shoals ran deep and the waters wide. Life was so sweet for you and me. That night was fine and the sea was calm. We launched our curraghs from the quay. The seabirds cried and the crewmen sang as we sailed out from INISHKEA. There's a silence on the islands now, broken only by the seagull's call. There's a silence on the islands now, calling to me, calling to us all. The sky grew dark and the winds did roar. White horses drenched us to the bone. You fought to turn our tattered boat to shore. I called your name, but you were gone. The nets are empty now, Father dear, tangled and torn out on the bay. And though you lie so far away from here, I feel you near on INISHKEA. There's a silence on the islands now, broken only by the seagull's call. There's a silence on the islands now, calling to me, calling to us all. There's a silence on the islands now, calling to me, calling to us all.
We've had many great nights with All-Ireland trophies coming back here to Lally's, but many great music sessions as well. And one man who has graced it with his presence many times here in Lally's is Charlie Keating. So let's head down to Westport and hear from Charlie.
Ireland's hurling men for all the lads on the bus. Who says our country's soul has fled? Who says our country's heart is dead? Come, let them hear the marching thread of twice 5,000 1,000 hurling men. They hold the hopes of bygone years. They love the past, its smiles and its tears. But quivering doubts and shirking fears are far from Ireland's hurling men. Hurrah, hurrah, the stout come on. No Saxon steel can match its blow. Hurrah, the arm of might and brawn, and hearts with freedom's flame aglow. On Irish fields where heroes died, and foemen thronged on every side, our leaders' joy, their hope and pride, were gleaming pikes and hurling men. And if God's will that war's red train shall sweep again o'er hills and plains, our land shall call, but not in vain, for fighting lines of hurling men. Hurrah, hurrah, the stout come on. No Saxon steel can match its blow. Hurrah, the arm of might and brawn, and hearts with freedom's flame